Mr. Hess, we're running ahead of schedule, and I've got a tight schedule today, so we figured we'd just go ahead and call you in.
Yeah, it was 12:15. I thought, well, hey.
Yeah.
On the way.
Yeah, I've got a 1 o'clock, so I just need to be there. So, Mr. Davis, I take it, Penny, we're still on, we never went off, right? Okay. Mr. Davis, will you start us out on the assessor's, on your recommendation for the assessor's office?
As the council is aware, at the end of July, as part of discussions regarding the unencumbered fund balance for fiscal year 1920, or actually 2021, the council authorized a 10% across the board increase for all full-time employees and an increase in the hourly rate of part-time employees, so that part-time employees were making an hourly rate of at least $15.50 an hour. At the time of your action, you decided that at least in the short term that the assessor's office employees, Department 406 and 407, would not be included in the increase. However, you did set aside funds in the contingency account to assist in the funding of compensation adjustments for Department 406, which is the Assessor General Fund. When the budget was set last March, the Assessor's General Fund had 1 elected salary plus supplement, as well as 15 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee budgeted. Department 407 had 16 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees. So that total budget between the 2 departments was 1 elected salary plus supplement and 31 full-time employees and 3 part-time employees. Mr. Hess has met with the council. Mr. Hess has met with Mr. Wine and I, as well as Mr. Goulier, and recently worked with Mr. Goulier in developing adjustments that I think would be acceptable to everyone. As you can see from the spreadsheet, as you work from left to right, it's in your read ahead. I listed the employee's name, what was approved as part of the fiscal year 2022 budget. This is actually what we based our budget on. The compensation effective 9/30/21. As you know, the assessor did provide some pay raises that range from 1% to 10% effective July 1st. So I've given you the compensation effective 9/30/2021, how much the dollar increase and how much that increase was. That portion of the spreadsheet is identical to what I provided to you over a month ago. As you move from percentage increase to the right, you'll see that the third column from the right is compensation as suggested by the assessor. What Mr. Hess did was take the current compensation, it's the compensation that's currently on the books, with the pay increase that he's already provided. He has increased that by 10%, so that the compensation per assessor is actually those numbers that Mr. Hess provided to us, and I did verify it, that it is 10% above what they're currently making, so that all the assessor employees, for all intent and purposes, are getting a double increase this year, which is something for this council to discuss and decide on. Then I took that compensation rate.
Well,
And-
let's stop there real quick. Mr. Hess, I just want to clarify and make sure that we're on the same page. You repetitively have said the reason you gave a compensation increase to your employees earlier this year was because they took on additional job
Yeah.
Well,
responsibilities.
my employees were down. I usually had like 32, 33 employees. I was down to 26 employees last year.
Mhm.
We got all of our work done, and so I felt, and they all did extra work. The whole office did. And
They had additional
They
responsibilities.
did. They did. And that's the reason I wanted to give them a little bit extra money for what they did. It wasn't a raise. It was just, it was for extra work, basically. Yeah, that's
Because you're reorganized the office, so when somebody new comes in, they're not gonna you're still working within your budget.
Oh, yeah.
Because
And I'm not disputing, I'm just pointing out that he is within his budget, but every employee, regardless of who they were, and I can't believe that every employee picked up extra work, but I'm not here to dispute that. Every employee got a pay increase from 1% to 10%. The ones that got closer to 10%, maybe they did pick up additional duties. My job is just to make the council aware, in case you hear from other employees, that what's going on.
and I'm doing what I'm doing so I can put it all on record.
Right. So I then took the compensation from the assessor provided. I converted it from a 35 to 40-hour work week, which I think, it's my understanding that was one of the conditions that the council had, that the assessor's office is the only office in the county that's currently not open 8 to 5. And for purposes of providing service, because there continues to be some confusion from the taxpaying public that now all offices will be open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So then I took that and I converted that, and you can see far right-hand column in red is the dollar increase. Again, I wasn't as part of the meeting, but it's my understanding that the agreement between Mr. Dollier and Mr. Hess is that 3 employees, in order to make this work, because you can infuse money into Department 407, which is the valuation fund. Mr. Hess has agreed to move 3 employees, Amber McLeod, Melissa Rodriguez, and Tiffany Saunders, from the assessor's valuation fund to the assessor's general fund, and eliminate 2 positions. So that, based on that, Department 406 as proposed would have 1 elected salary plus supplement, and 16 full-time and 1 part-time employee. So it's actually picking up 1 additional full-time employee. However, Department 407, which is the evaluation fund, and I correct myself, it's actually a decrease of two vacancies, or 2 positions, not 3. Department 407 would have 13 full-time and 2 part-time employees, so that if accepted as proposed, total would be 1 elected salary plus supplement and 29 full-time and 3 part-time vacancies, or 3 part-time positions. The council did approve an additional clerk last week, so that still leaves 2 vacancies in the budget, in the Department 406 budget. If approved, you can see that the cost, which would have to come out of the county council's contingency, is $115,751 for compensation. 7.65% FICA would be $8,855. 10% PERS would be $11,575 for a total of $136,181 annually. Now, of course, that total amount would not be transferred this year. As part of this fiscal year, that's an annualized figure. So if you come to an agreement with the assessor, I would recommend that the 10% be made retroactive back to July 1st, which is what we did for all the county employees. And then you can decide on a date that you want them to migrate to a 40-hour work week. And we can do it as soon as next Monday for purposes of payroll.
And that's what we had talked about. There's one thing that you did miss. We had discussed that we were going to take the salary for a chief deputy assessor and hold that funding in the contingency account.
Well, and that's not in my spreadsheet because
Right.
that's a discussion that you
But we did discuss that we were going to do that as well, and that if Larry was able to get a chief deputy, because I think we all want him to have a chief deputy, at least I did.
Yeah, I'm looking.
That there would be funding for that.
Now, the only other thing that I just want to point out, as Mr. Hess has told me and he's told you, we can't tell him what to do with his money. All we can do is give him an amount equal to annualized $136,181 for Department 406, which he can distribute as he sees fit. And I think that it would be incumbent for this council to come to some agreement on how that
And I think this is off of his spreadsheet
It
that he
is.
gave back, right? So this
Yeah.
is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought you told me this is your intent to stay with what's on here.
It is.
I just want that on the record.
All right, so, Mr. Hess, it looks like the agreement or the discussion you and Mr. Delier has had and Mr. Davis has looked at it, is asking the county council on this portion of it, not counting the deputy, would be for the county council to infuse $136,181 into the 406 account. And you in your 407 account would know that you have $59,521 additional per year, right? Okay. And the 10% would go back to July 1st. And are you in agreement that the 35 to 40-hour work week would change as of this coming Monday?
It's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
we can do it.
And also, we discussed this morning that retroactive would not come on until the first, the
Yeah,
end of
as
this
the,
month.
well, as this council knows, we're running a finance department with 2 people.
Right.
So we're implementing new system. The 2 ladies down there, Lori Crawford, Lori Graham, are doing their absolute best to pay our bills and keep payroll up. This would not show up in the employee's paycheck until the employee, and it would be the retroactive pay back to July 1st, as well as the difference for the 40-hour work week for 3 weeks would not show up until the November 30th pay. But they will get it.
But the modification for the 40 hours will go right on immediately.
Oh, we'll do all that, yeah.
All right. Now we're going to deal with the chief deputy here in a couple minutes. So entertain a motion to
Just, have I misstated anything, Larry?
No,
Are you
you
okay
haven't.
with all that?
No.
Okay.
all right, we need a motion for a compensation adjustment into the 406 account of $136,181. And that 10% would go back and retroactive to July 1st. Employees would start going from a 35 to 40-hour work week as early as this coming Monday, and the 10% increase would not show up on payroll until November 30th. Is that correct?
I'll make that motion.
All right. Mr. Delia has made that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? Further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. All right. So that portion of it's done. The vacancy of a chief deputy assessor, currently in the spreadsheet had a reduction of the $60,000. So what's the discussion on that one? Let's lead that.
What our discussion was that just that simple, that we were going to put that money in contingency or leave it in the contingency fund and let Larry know that when and if he fills that position, all he has to do is come back to the council and we'll be able to transfer that portion for the remaining part of the year.
And
add
that
it
would
to his
be,
budget.
and that would be that would go from 407 to 406 then?
That would be in the 406. That's correct.
All right, and then, so,
And that infusion would be separate from what you've
That's
already
exactly right.
allocated.
and one step further, because I want to make sure that I'm correct on that, is the current budgeted salary for that is 60,000. So we would have to include the 10 and the 12.5% on top of the 60. Right?
Well, it'd be whatever salary that.
Yeah, but for the budget purposes, well, I understand, but I'm just letting the county council, it could be as much as that.
Correct.
Right, Larry's the one that has to determine the salary that he hires somebody at. Right,
But I'm saying for now,
right.
just want to make everybody aware. All right, so entertain a motion on earmarking and in our contingency for the chief deputy assessor vacancy that would be transferred from 407 to 406 and put that amount in contingency.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor and have a second. Further discussion. What I'm saying is currently right now, we will take the 60 plus the 10 plus the 12.5%. And that's what we're putting in contingency.
What?
Plus
Yes,
the
sir.
payroll overhead.
I will make those calculations and set that aside, and I'll earmark that in contingency for that.
So we'll actually approve that amount next week, probably, or the week after. No?
No.
Okay. All right.
You just, for example, our contingency account
Yeah.
has money set aside still from decisions that you made as part of the budget. I'll just earmark it. I mean, the money's there.
Okay. Yeah.
That way, when I look at the contingency, the unencumbered fund balance from contingency, although it doesn't show up as a encumbrance, I know to deduct that amount, so I have an accurate running total of what your unencumbered fund or your unencumbered contingency
Right,
fund balance
right.
is. That's an internal record.
Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Hess.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next on our agenda is Will Lawrenson, fiduciary supervisor of state accounts for the month of November. And we still have 42 accounts,
We have 41 council.
41, okay?
Morning, Will.
Morning. Moving right along, council, I'll just get this started. We are settling the estates of Drew R. Bartley, Terry W. Bowers, Diane M. Butner, Daniel L. Coffenberger Sr., Robert N. DeHedeney, Ralph W. Haynes, Bonnie J. Hissom, Sadie B. Northeast, Karen E. Payne, Elise V. Catlett Proctor, William D. Welzel, Paul Zimanowski Jr., John F. Barrick, Chike Bazzano, Robert Beavers, Patricia A. Kuntz Bishop, Ethel B. Bovey, Dolores A. Bryan, Elizabeth Church, Alberto C. Claros, Joseph W. Cockrell, Robin Koger, Henry E. Collins, Linda L. Courtney, April D. Crow, Phyllis F. Kavanaugh Dove, Peter G. DeForney, Lois A. Poisel Dunham, James F. Gano Sr., Gloria U. Height, Wallace J. Johnson Jr., Patricia J. McLaughlin Knighton, Robert C. Kuchenbrod, Roland C. Long, Dorothy M. Polsgrove McDonald, Leroy E. Milburn Jr., George W. McGinney, David W. Powell, Daniel L. Rainey, Trenton M. Tigney, Harold J. Vandover.
It was in a different order than what our read ahead was. So.
Yeah.
Yes, Council. So I've been, the order I've started to do is identifying proper settlements and go against those who filed what's called affidavit and waivers. A proper settlement is a settlement that is filed that ultimately is either declaring the estate to be insolvent, that there is no further probate assets, and even though there are creditors out there, that there's no money for them to pay. Affidavit and waivers, however, which are read later, and I can provide those lists for you as they come up. I just wanted to get the settlements done first. Again, it's just easier. They're more problematic in any event. That's why they're read in a different order. I also like to write up the drafts myself because we've had some computer problems recently with the automated list.
All right. Need a motion to approve the 41 estate accounts for the month of November.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. And then you have a couple of state hearings to schedule.
Yes, Council, and we'll get those. I also have a couple of petitions for Council to rule on, but we'll go ahead and get the schedulings done.
Yep.
For the estate of Norman Groover Stokes II, that estate hearing is for the replacement of a personal representative. That petition is actually from my office. It involves a misidentification of an heir at law status for the personal representative of the current personal representative of the estate. It has later been found that that identification was again misidentified, and we're trying to correct those records moving forward. The second scheduling is actually different from the read ahead I've given council. That petition for Ms. Pensell, I believe is the estate's name, was withdrawn. And I'd like to substitute one because as of that one estate that I gave you that was asking for a petition for a hearing, that was withdrawn. Literally 2 hours later, another petition came in for the exact same type of thing, or replacement of a personal representative, and that's for the estate of Deborah McGraw.
Pulling Penwell.
Yeah, Penwell and substituting McGraw. That's all right. DEBRA McGraw MCGRAW.
Same times.
Yeah, it works.
So, Will, let's do Stokes at December the 2nd at 10:45, and then McGraw at 11 o'clock the same day. You have one scheduled for the 18th. So
Yes,
we've already scheduled
yes.
from last month.
Yes, and to slightly explain that, Council, the reason I'm asking to read this estate's specific settlement out of turn, technically the code doesn't, we don't have to publish it and then wait 30 days. We only actually have to wait 10 days. For whatever reason, the Journal did not publish this specific estate, and they should have last month, so it should have actually gone up before you today. Through no fault of the personal representative, I wanted to get that done as soon as possible.
So we do have that on your agenda for the 18th. That will be taken care of.
But we do have one today too.
We have two today.
Two today. All right.
Okay. Council, if it's agreeable, I do have the representatives for the estate of Patricia Lou Tansel. I don't know if we want to go ahead and do that.
They were scheduled for 10:15. You actually have three today.
Yes.
One at 10:15, and then two later, one
Yeah,
at
let's-
11, 11:15.
Let's do the 10:15 now.
Okay. Just to give council a little bit of background, and as I said, the representatives for the estate are in the audience, and they'll come forward after I've given a little bit of background. This will of Miss Tansel was authored in 1979. As many of you probably know, West Virginia law requires that two attesting witnesses accompany proper wills in West Virginia. In 1979, these two witnesses signed, so they did what they were legally supposed to do. They just didn't swear to the common vernacular of, I swear that this person is not under duress, and they didn't swear it before a notary of the court. Therefore, in cases like that, we ask individuals to go out and seek those witnesses and find them and have them swear it at a later date. Well, the estate being authored in 1979, that was kind of a tall ask for these folks, and so this petition was really the only other way for these fine folks to get this estate up and rolling. Without further ado, I'd like to ask the personal reps to come forward and just explain to council why they think the estate should be authored as going forward.
Good morning. State your name for the record, please.
My name is Debbie Ray Mason. I'm the daughter of Patricia Lou Tansel. I'm the only child of Patricia, and I don't know why they didn't update the will or whatever, but this is what I'm left with. So I guess I'm just trying to go forward with everything that I'm supposed to, and that this is part of the,
But other than that, everything looks fine in the will,
yes.
and the people did sign it, just missed portions of it. Okay. All right. Sir, do you have anything to add? Okay. All right. All right. That's good. So, Will, thank you.
Yes, council. I ask for a vote to probate this will and satisfy the petition to the will in solemn form.
All right. Entertain a motion on this matter.
Move to approve the,
To probate the will.
to probate the
Probate.
All right. Got a motion on the floor in a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, council.
All right.
I do not see any other personal reps, so if it's all right with you. I'm sorry, we had
10:45.
10:45. I'll go down to my office and see if they've gone to the.
Yeah, well,
We're back on.
yeah, we'll be on schedule, so,
Perfect.
yep, we're exactly on schedule, as a matter of fact.
Glad I can help, guys.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks. We'll take a break.
I'm gonna have to exit if that's okay.
right, we're back in session. Let the record show, Penny, that Mr. Whitaker had to leave. Next on our agenda is Robert Blair, Director of Main Street Martinsburg. You're going to do your own introduction and tell us all about yourself, Robbie, that we may not know already. We're all excited. Okay?
Well, thank you for having me, and pleasure to talk with some of you during the break. My name is Robbie, and it's a real honor to be here, especially today. My grandfather, Shug Kisner, at one point was the maintenance director here when it was the Blue Ridge Outlet Center, and he also held the position, I believe it was commission before, not council.
Yeah.
But it's certainly my honor, and I hold you all in this office in a very high regard. And I wanted to come and just introduce myself and thank you for your support of Main Street from individual levels and from the level of the council. It is an interesting position to be in. I was sharing with William, not Willard, during the break that I have an interesting position and outlook in this new role. I don't live in the city limits, and I catch flack from some folks sometimes, but I find it interesting. Yeah, well, my wife and I live. We just built our house in the Martinsburg Lakes, right off of Route 11, and I think it's interesting from that perspective. The city of Martinsburg, and specifically our historic downtown, really serve as the crown jewel of our county, and even further of our Eastern Panhandle, 3 counties and the 81 corridor. No matter which way you slice it, Main Street Martinsburg, that historic district is at the heart of everything. And it's my hope, and I believe that with the help of offices like yourself, offices like our city council, and the support of all of our community volunteers, that not only will we be at the heart of it all, but we will be the heartbeat of our community. We had a really, really successful first event, not only for myself, but for the organization as a whole. We've never done the Four State Food Truck Festival before, but I am happy to report that not only did we see just a crazy amount, anywhere between our estimates, because we didn't sell tickets, are between 2,500 to 4,000 people that day in our downtown, all within the span of 12 to 7 p.m. We consider that a huge, huge success. We heard countless people just saying, I've never really noticed, because I just drive through downtown. Never noticed how beautiful some of these buildings are.
Oh, yeah.
We just consider that from a PR perspective an awesome event, but also financially it was one of the most successful events that Main Street Martinsburg has ever put on. So we're excited that now we have a really cool template for putting something on for the community, that it was free admission, buy as much or as little as you wanted to support the businesses. We have the community aspect of it, but also we're able to raise some funds for ourselves. And it's our belief that with bringing some more of our events that we already do, some of our signature events to that scale, Main Street Martinsburg can get into things that we've hoped to in the past, but never really had the funds to do. So it's with that we're hoping to get out of just events, get into some revitalization efforts, some restoration efforts, and some of the beautiful properties downtown. And not to say that we haven't in the past, but become a more active player in some of those things. It's through those things, it's through the support of you all and the volunteers in our community, and kind of a collaborative effort with even some of the folks that might not be in our footprint, some of the businesses. But I believe that it is worth our time to work with some of the larger companies that are outside of our historic downtown, but are in our county, because what is good for the city of Martinsburg and Main Street Martinsburg, I believe is good for the county, and I believe is good for our citizens within the larger county. So thank you, and if I'd love to continue a discussion.
We'll open it up. So, again, welcome. Something's going on with me right now. But anyway, one of the things that we say here is what got us here isn't what's going to keep us here, you know? And it takes new minds, fresh minds, and young minds, right? So, you know, we're excited. I got to take a drink, so.
Have that effect on people.
We're excited about things in Martinsburg. Really excited. A lot of activity going on. As you've seen, the old Interwoven Mills and Fresh Environment's going to have a $80 million facelift, which is a huge improvement for downtown. And a friend of mine took my wife and I to Frederick and showed for the first time and showed me downtown Frederick and what activity they had going on and stuff like that. So I can envision, you know, Friday night at 5 maybe branching out a little bit, doing more and start, you know, being able to support the local businesses and get the excitement going. So thank you, Robbie.
Of course.
Hey, Mr. Barnhart.
The interwoven thing has me kind of excited, not just for the interwoven itself, but for King Street and Winchester Avenue and the development of that district in conjunction with interwoven. I'm really looking forward to the development of that property to enhance, you know, those areas, and I'm sure you'll be active in that as well.
Absolutely. We're very excited at Main Street for that project in particular. I think the Shenandoah Hotel, now apartments, served as a great example of this is worth doing. And Sandy Hamilton always says it best: when you invest in Berkeley County, you get a good return on your investment.
And then next will be the old National Fruit.
Yeah.
Hopefully, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot of buildings like that downtown that, you know, it takes a really interesting mind to look at and say, what could this be? I oftentimes just walk around and look at some of those buildings and try to imagine, and it's really encouraging to see people putting their resources into those investments.
Yeah, lot to look forward to.
Yes.
I think with the excitement that's going on downtown, might spark some real estate investments.
That's right.
You know.
That's right. I would also like to very quickly invite you all and encourage you all to participate and enjoy what we have planned for Christmas. Main Street Martinsburg does a lot for our community Christmas events in regards to the events, and as I was just sharing, even as much as finding a Christmas tree. But this year we're really excited. We have a temporary ice skating rink coming in.
Where's that going to be located?
We're blocking off from Race to King Street that day from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 p.m. being the tree lighting on December the 4th. We have the ice skating rink. It's going to go right in the middle of the streets. They come in, they put it together. It's actually synthetic, so there's no freezing overnight or anything like that. They piece it together. And this company's from, I think, Boston, that they're coming in to do this. We have horse carriage rides, really trying to accentuate the charm that our town has during Christmas time. We're going to be doing caroling. We have live music. All of this leading up to our tree lighting ceremony, and with the funds, because of the generosity of some corporate sponsorships, with the funds that we raise in ticket sales, we're going to be able to buy some new decorations for our downtown. Just continue. Our goal is that it wouldn't just be Queen Street and King Street, that, you know, as the improvements to Martin Street and Burke Street continue, these side streets, they all fall in our district. So yeah, we just encourage and invite you all to enjoy that, and wanted to thank you as well for letting us use your parking lots on the food truck festival. People, I didn't hear one person complain about parking, and that's rare
That's great.
to do something downtown and not have anybody complain about parking. So
Yeah.
with the help of you all and the help of Mr. Poland and Eastern Panhandle Transit Authority, we were able to make that a seamless addition to our event.
Great. I know Mr. Gokenair has a few words, I'm sure.
I do. Number one, welcome, and you know, I was happy to see that you were chosen for this position, and you know, Randy Lewis worked extremely hard and laid you a real good foundation to build off of, and do all the great things I know that's going around in your mind to be able to get accomplished. So you know, I've known your family for a very long period of time, and I was happy to see you chosen.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Robbie, I'd like to say something too. You know, your grandfather obviously was big community service guy. Left a big pair of shoes for you to try to fill. But if you're exciting an old guy like that, you're obviously doing something right. You know. but I can tell you that I look forward to, you know, I say all the time, I believe a plan is the basis for modification, and I look forward to see how you modify this plan going forward. Like he said, Randy Lewis, you know, left a good base for you. So yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Yes.
It's going to be exciting. I
Thank
think you're the guy for the job. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll elaborate a little bit about your grandfather. You know, in the older days, there was Shug Sunoco down on
right.
the corner of Race and Queen Street, and back then he would even have, you know, personal accounts and, you know, trust you to pay it monthly or stuff like that. Not that I ever took advantage of that one, but you know, he's all about customer service, and you're right. He became a county commissioner. He also became the sheriff of Berkeley County, which he was a really good sheriff because he really cared about the people. He had a good business mind on him, and he knew that you know, his job was to manage the sheriff's department. So we all know your mom and dad, which are superb people, and I know you are too. So it's exciting times. It really is. We're every chance we get to work with the city of Martinsburg to try to make, like you said, Berkeley County and the city of Martinsburg better. We try to do that. So
Thank you. And I would say my granny's probably watching this, so watch out. She might send you an invoice for those leftover tabs.
well, I'll tell you what. Last time I seen your grandfather, sad to say, he was working at Wholesale Tires, and he was slinging tires so fast. And I said, "Show you got to slow down." He's, "Oh man, I feel good." But I was going to tell you, you know, back when I was growing up and running around in the city of Martinsburg, because I grew up in the city of Martinsburg till I was 12. If we wanted to do anything in ice, we opened up the fire hydrants.
I'll keep that in mind.
Not that I was part of that, but I was in the vicinity.
That investigation's still open?
No, I wasn't. Some of my friends did.
Well, now I
They
can
wanted to
no
go sleigh
longer.
riding, so they opened up the fire hydrant.
Now I can't ask for forgiveness. You know, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than for permissions. Now there's no plausible deniability anymore.
Yeah, but anyway, thank you, and we're really excited.
Thank you.
One real quick thing, Robbie and I were talking about the success of the food truck event. Not only did the food trucks sell out, but the brick and mortar restaurants either sold out or had their best day on record
That's correct.
because of the crowds downtown.
That's correct. And
Well, and Robbie, we'll get into a little bit of politics. One of the things we say here is, you know, and just down in Frederick County, the local sales tax is higher than the state sales tax. I just had that discussion a little bit on Tuesday. And when we have these events, it creates activity everywhere. But behind the scenes, it also creates expenses for people, for the county as well as it does the city. And that's why this county council, because I feel it's okay to talk for everyone, is the local county sales tax would help improve upon that stuff, because then everybody has a reason to incentivize additional activity that would be bringing outside money in, right? And to offset some of the local costs. So, look, thank you.
One of the ladies on the CVB is actually, works out there to the hotel out there, Aiken's Head, with Comfort Inn. Works out to the Comfort Inn, and she said that they had a large amount of people actually make reservations and
Wow.
stay for that event.
Wow.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that.
Yeah, we it exactly what Mr. Davis said. It wasn't just our trucks selling out, which everyone except for the funnel cakes did sell out. It was two brick and mortar restaurants and several retail businesses having their best day on record, or their top 5 or whatever. And yeah, we look to bring that kind of influx often. Like you said, you know, there are give and takes with that kind of stuff, and as we're able to continue to scale up some of those things, I think it only lays a foundation for us to work with other avenues to figure out what we're doing and how we can do new things.
Right.
So,
No, great job.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Next on our agenda is Will Lawrenson, fiduciary supervisor, of state hearing for Gerald S. Nelson.
Good morning, council.
Another one of these young faces that's doing well, huh?
That's good.
Well, doing well is relative. I think the former is better. But anyway, so yes, council, we have 2 sequential estate hearings, basically dealing with the same as the previous estate hearing we had this morning. The estate of Gerald S. Nelson involves an original will with 2 witnesses subscribing to everything that West Virginia law requires. However, the will was authored in Maine in 2017, and under the supervision of an attorney, actually swore in front of the attorney, not in front of any kind of court oath taker, as required by West Virginia law. Given that the decedent was a resident of Berkeley County, West Virginia law ultimately applies. So the will requires the swearing oath be taken before a court officer, mostly a notary public. That did not happen in this case, and given the geographical challenges of tracking down some of these witnesses, the personal reps who are here today seek to probate the will absent those swearings from the witnesses after the fact. With that, I will invite the personal reps for the estate of Gerald S. Nelson to address council.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good. Please
Good morning.
state your name for the record. So,
My name is Robert Ises. Gerald Nelson was my father-in-law. We brought him to live with us here in Hedgesville in 2018 because of failing health. He passed away in June of this year. That's when we found out the requirements of the will. We're asking you folks to accept the will as it is.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else here? Will?
Yes, if we'd like to do 2 sequential votes, I do have another estate hearing.
On this estate.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
On this estate.
I apologize. No, council, really, the will is fine, other than those 2 subscribing witnesses. That issue, everything else looks fine. All that remains is for council to vote on probating the will.
Okay. Entertain a motion to probate the will of Gerald S. Nelson.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Now your next one.
All right.
Now, Will.
Well, anxious.
I'd say, man. Next, you have an estate hearing for Sarah Goff.
That is correct, Counsel. So for this estate, the estate of Sarah K. Goff, this estate involves another will that, another requirement that West Virginia law has is that it is the original last will and testament. That is not the will that was presented to my office. It was a copy of the will. The circumstances surrounding this estate involve the original will possibly being in the hands of another beneficiary who lives out of state. Action taken both by my office and the personal rep having been taking place. The law requires that an original will be brought to my office within 30 calendar days of the decedent's passing. That has not happened. The original is kind of in the wind, as they say. So all we have to probate is this copy. The copy adheres to literally everything that the West Virginia Code requires, except for that it is indeed a copy. So with that, I will ask the personal representatives for the estate of Sarah K. Goff to address council, please.
Gentlemen,
Good morning, sir.
my name is Robert Woodford, and I have been for the last 9 years the conservator part for my mom's estate while she was in a nursing home. She did reside over to my residence. She had my address and everything in Berkeley County here for the last 12 years. I handed my brother at the time of the funeral. He resides in Mobile, Alabama, and he was listed as the executor of the estate. I handed him the original will, and since then have not heard from him. No contact from him. Everything has been done, even through this office, to contact him, and nothing has come up. Even with that said, there is an accountant that I have to go through once a year through the Commissioner of Accounts, and even the Commissioner of Accounts has issued a summons for him to appear in court. Even that didn't work. The Sheriff's Department could not find him in Mobile, Alabama. I don't know where he's at, haven't heard from him, but hopefully you will agree that a copy of this will be sufficient
Okay.
in me getting her estate taken care of.
Got a
And the
question.
only thing that it is a bank account, that's it.
Right. Got a question for you.
Sir.
Did your mom reside in Jefferson County?
At one time,
Right. She married a gentleman that was in Back Creek Valley?
at one time, yes.
Yes. Very nice lady.
Yes, so is he.
Yes. He had a regular lawn tractor, and she had a zero turn, and she was making fun of him because she could mow grass much faster than he could.
She could,
And she was probably pushing late 70s then.
at that time, yes.
Yeah.
When she passed, she was 94,
Yep. Lovely lady.
yes,
All right. Thank you.
yes.
Well, who's executor of the estate?
Counsel, that remains to be seen. When an executor fails to appear, there are options through my office, either through alternates named in the will, or through it's called an administrative CTA, where, notwithstanding the will's nomination, we move forward with a personal representative for the estate. With that, counsel, I ask for a vote to probate this will.
Entertain a motion to probate the will of Sarah Goff.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion?
So everything is fine with the copy.
That is correct.
All right. And if anything you had anything to say, you would have said it by now.
Everything Will said is correct.
All right. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We have a second. We've had a little bit of discussion. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Will. Thank you to each and every one of y'all for being here today. All right, you want to call Matthew?
Actually, Matthew is waiting for, there will be 2 other participants that will be here with Matthew.
Okay.
At 11:45, so he's not gonna want to move it up.
All right.
I suspect.
All right, so HD's not here, I take it.
Donna Huffman and Mrs. Shoemaker will be here with.
There's HD.
with Matthew.
Sorry, I've been here, but got held up talking over there.
That's all right.
Street and that.
Now, well, HD, we're running a little bit ahead of schedule, so you're up, man. HD Boyd, President of the Roundhouse Authority, request for matching grant funding.
How y'all doing today?
Doing well.
As he said, I'm H.D. Boyd, President of Roundhouse Authority Foundation. And I'm here to ask for some matching funds for a grant that we've received from the Federal Highways. The grant was actually granted to us just before the election. The governor announced it, but it took us a while to really get to the bottom whether it needed matching funds, didn't need matching funds. We had a hard time getting that answer. We finally got that answer, and it is in fact that we need 20% matching funds. I have asked to split this between you guys and the city, and to not put all the burden on one agency, possibly. I did submit to the city, and they immediately came back and told me that there was a portal, that they had $1.5 million they were giving to nonprofits, and they proposed that I submit to that portal, and they thought that would be a good likelihood that I may get that. So I did that. That's been submitted, and I, of course, submitted this to you. The original grant total amount is for $742,889. Of that, they give $594,311. We require a 20% match, which is $148,578. The obligation to the county would be, and if the city pulled their side, it would be $74,289 each. This grant would allow us to finish the project that we started with the bathrooms in the bridge shop. We got the bathrooms and the sprinkler system put in. That's all there, done and finished. It was actually a 5-step project. We didn't have enough money with the original $520,000 grant to do the whole 5 steps. The remaining steps are the steps to the upstairs of the building, the elevator to the upstairs of the building, and the concrete floors in the downstairs of the building. This would allow us to pretty much complete this building minus 2 more factors to actually open up 7 days a week and be full in business there. We have a full business plan, which I actually submitted with this. I imagine you guys all got to take a look at that.
Should be in your report.
The things that we're still missing are the HVAC system, and then we'll need to tweak some doors. We don't have enough fire doors in the building. Don't think that'll be a huge cost. We have to go through the historic preservation in Charleston to get that done. We'll have to see what our options are there. For the HVAC though, when I submitted to the city for the other half of this matching grant, they said that there was more funds there, and they suggested if I needed anything else to apply for that. So I did apply for the HVAC. I got an appraisal done, and I asked them for $125,000 more for the HVAC system. I've yet to hear back from that. I'm sure we'll hear back at some point in time, but I'm optimistic and hoping that that will come through. And if that does, that would pretty much complete this project, and to where within the next year or two, I would hope that we could actually be in business there and be operating the full market and have the upstairs. And, you know, the upstairs could open and be events and meetings and different things even sooner if we get the elevator and steps in before the HVAC. But I think if all this comes together, it'll all be around the same time, and we should be able to hopefully get this whole building operational and finally get the Roundhouse to be supporting itself really soon. And that's my hopes here. So.
One of the things that I think was spoken about HD briefly, I don't know if it's still a possibility, is the HVAC, since that's an old building, pretty drafty probably. Concrete floor is gonna be really cold. Is there a possibility of doing radiant heat tubing and, heat in that building?
I met with Dick Klein about that because I asked about that, and he came in and we talked about it. And the way he explained it was the drawings from the Department of Highways and the grant money we've already been given did not include that in the scope of work. So to do that, it would be a whole lot of dragging out to try to figure out. This grant wouldn't apply to that, and so then we'd have to figure that out. And then with the concrete, the depth of the concrete, there wasn't quite the amount of depth because there's actually a concrete pad under the gravel now that they're just adding to. And to try to put the radiant heat between the two wouldn't give the stability of the concrete correctly. I'm not a concrete guy. This is how it was explained to me that if they did that, then it just wouldn't, concrete wouldn't be stable enough without jackhammering out concrete that exists, digging down, put a whole new slab over the whole building. So the way this was written and quoted, that would make the concrete floors a whole nother project that would be astronomical. At least
Did they not raise the elevation of the floor?
We got railroad tracks that run through there that
That's
you
gonna
have
be
to keep in
exposed.
there, yeah.
through historic, it has to stand there.
Yes.
Now,
That's gonna make a big difference, because that's gonna be cold.
what I did find out though is that the ceiling, I spoke with Kim Martin. He said when they put that roof on that building, that there is some sort of insulation in that roof between the
Right.
That panel.
the panel shingles and the roof.
Well, I'm just thinking,
No, I
it's gonna be
understand.
cold on your feet, the women, it's gonna be cold on their legs,
Right.
wearing dresses and stuff.
The quote I got for the HVAC, I think, was nine 5-ton units or something like that to run it, nine or maybe more.
I would say easy.
Yeah, he told me how he would line it up and how the best way to do it. I'm not sure how that would work out though with the cold concrete.
But the biggest thing you have to do is figure out the function of the building, because I've been involved in this stuff before. And the biggest thing on the HVAC is more about the cooling than it is the heating. Because when you get a lot of people in there during the summer,
Right.
and then you have some activities that may create some, dancing events or something like that. I know that's probably going to be over in the frog shop or something one day. That's a huge amount of body heat, as you know, to try to cool.
Oh yeah,
You
my
know what I
building's big, but it's still
So, all right. Anybody have any questions for HD? If not, HD is asking for a $74,289, which is 10% of the grant from us, the county council, and the same amount from the city council. My recommendation would be to do this match because it's such a big grant, and contingent upon the city of Martinsburg doing their $74,289.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion's been made. Any second?
I'll second motion.
Second, any further discussion?
Where's it coming from?
We have a number, we have a capital account that we could draw from. We also have your contingency, and we could also take it from quality of life. So we have a number of accounts that we can take it from. We can fund the request, as long as the city does their fair share.
It's contingent on the cities.
Right, but this is a prime example to use that quality of life money that is coming in on the next project.
Correct.
Yeah, and I was, this property has been being worked on for a long time. And it's never been able to get over the hump to be able to actually, other than the roundhouse, to use it, and it's only seasonal.
right.
So, being able to get the federal dollars, or state dollars that you acquired and do. My other thing is, I would just ask that, and I'm grateful that you're working hard to get this, but when you request the grants, to at least let the administrator's office know that, hey, there may be a match for this, that way we can plan, because hopefully this is not the end of good things going on there.
Right.
You know, and I was very pleased to see a business plan presented to us. I think that shows that you're working hard to get there.
We've been doing a lot.
Yeah.
Like, there's a team of people helping me with it, and we've been doing a lot to make this happen.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
only leaves one thing then, that would be access.
Well, if you got a second, we did just recently get back a Region 9 work study thing for to actually do this is a feasibility study on access to the property. This was done, I think some of you guys may be aware of this, I'm not sure. This was done by Michael Baker International, working with Region 9. And they put together a price tag of $89,990 to do this feasibility study. I can leave this with you if y'all have not
Sure,
seen
you
it.
can leave it with
And y'all
me.
can take a look at it. Maybe this is something we talk about in the future.
And I got it.
Yeah. So that would be.
Councilperson Buchner brings out a good point that this council's in an enviable position where you could be entertaining unbudgeted requests like this, because this is a pretty big lift for us. You know, anything that's, you know, a couple $100, it's not budget, I consider a big lift. But, you know, a couple years ago, this council, we wouldn't have had the funding to do this. So the council again needs to be recognized and commended for sending this money aside so that you can help out the Roundhouse and some others as the need arises.
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of things that could happen down there. We've always said that's our biggest diamond in the rough. And really, I think that HD, when you get right down to it, it's not only accessibility, but once you access the property, it's going to be parking arrangements. You know, you're not going to have near enough parking to do the events that you want one day.
Correct. Right now on site, if we do maximize what we have for parking, we're sitting at around 220 spaces.
That's pretty good. That's more than what I thought.
Yeah, which isn't terrible. But there are some things we've met with the city and talking about for development of the whole area that would possibly include some parking coming and some different things. That feasibility study there would include pedestrian bridges coming from two different areas of like Vicky Bullitt and Center Street areas, as well as a bridge coming in from East Martin Street off High Street into the property. That's what that feasibility study is about there. So if you guys get a chance to take a look at it, I think that really would open up the property. You know, the trail's already started on the backside. There's other trails in the works coming from the Oatsdale side. So I think we're right in the middle there, and there's a lot going on right now, and a lot of development going on all over the downtown area and within the county, and we're a big part of that. I think the Roundhouse is a hub of downtown, and I think it's an important piece. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can work together and get this thing rolling. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
I see where the city is finally upgrading the intersection of Burke Street and Water Street. They're expanding, so it's not that little spot where it was only one car.
Right.
Yeah, they're expanding it now.
Because of Frog Hollow, you think?
Well, where the Frog Hollow track went across.
Right.
Yeah, they're developing so traffic can freely move through.
Okay. All right. I don't think we voted on this, but all in favor? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? The motion carries. All right. All right. Next on our agenda is, I'm sorry, Matthew, we still waiting on people?
I think everybody's here.
Okay. All right, next on our agenda is Matthew Umstead, Director of Policies and Strategic Planning, Morgan Park Project.
Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here, alive, breathing, and hopefully you all are happy to be here as well and breathing and doing well this morning. Just to update this project, a little background. March 29th, you all agreed and we submitted a request to the state of West Virginia to consider transferring this 1 acre site known as Morgan Park that was established 99 years ago along Mill Creek and Bunker Hill. So we submitted a letter to the state of West Virginia, and then we had subsequent meetings and discussions since that time with the department, I should say the Division of Natural Resources, and the Division of Highways at the Burlington office. And there's further discussions with the neighboring property owner, Ms. Donna Hoffman, who's sitting in the back here. Hello, Donna. And has a lot of history with her relationship with the Division of Highways regarding the property, which currently is under the jurisdiction of the Division of Highways. Obviously, it started out as being the State Road Commission way back. But just to give you a quick piece of background information, it was dedicated by the Governor Morgan in 1924. Coverage of that dedication was in the Washington Star newspaper in D.C. So it's kind of a high-profile place that the state
Give a little bit
created.
more history that you and I talked about, Matt. That was one of the roadside parks when the
Right.
automobile was starting to get very popular,
Correct.
right?
That's absolutely correct. And 1924, obviously, it was the early days of the automobile, and US 11 was the primary highway from the East Coast. It was the interstate back then. And of course, I'm not even sure how well developed it was in 1924, but I think before it was a road, I think it was actually a wagon trail or maybe a Native American trail or turnpike. Right, it was a turnpike, correct. That's right. So the monument down there has been inspected since that initial, the monument was inspected by the curator, Randall Reed Smith, in a site visit last month. And I took Randall there, escorted him there on a rainy Saturday, and he took a look at the property and was obviously very in favor of more enhanced maintenance of the site, which whenever he was there, he saw a overflowing container of litter scattered about the property. He saw that the Daughters of the American Revolution, as Ms. Hoffman pointed out in a conversation to me, had recently planted some mums around the monument to kind of make it look a little better, and thanks to them for doing that, to kind of dress up the site. But it clearly needs more TLC and maybe a local oversight management plan, whether it be through community service, the Department of Community Service program here at the county level, or in a relationship with Parks and Recreation. I did, after the conversations with DNR, engage District 5 more closely. A very, very pleasant person, Missy Shoemaker. She's a right-of-way agent with the District 5. Missy was very, very kind and pleasant to work with, has been, and we talked about the possibility of a potential long-term lease agreement, which Curator Reed Smith suggested and was very much in favor of. Ms. Shoemaker indicated that the BOH would be of the mindset to try to keep ownership, at least for now, of the property, given their long standing concerns about maintenance of the bridge, the US 11 bridge over Mill Creek. Obviously that is understandable. They would want to maintain access to that bridge area, which is only, again, a 1.05 acre site. But just to backtrack just a little bit about Ms. Hoffman's involvement, we have had multiple conversations, and Ms. Hoffman, she could speak to a lot more in detail, but she had some type of agreement with DOH and basically was providing some groundskeeping of the property for a number of years. And she also just advised me and reminded me that she was actually a source for fishing licenses for people who wanted to fish the stream there, and says today, even today, that site is a very, very popular fishing site whenever it gets stocked beginning of the year. So it does have a lot of recreation value, and probably could be even greater in its use if it was expanded as a recreation site. Of course, the longstanding concerns, the real issues are there's a continued drug trafficking issue. There's obviously, as I mentioned, a litter issue there as well that Ms. Hoffman would like to see addressed. And I'm sure we obviously have a real passion about litter issues in the community, as we all know. So that's one other matter. Just to update, the highway markers that are also at the site are in the process of being refurbished. So I think that brings us really where we are at this point in time. If Ms. Hoffman, if you had any questions for her or wanted background, insights as to what her relationship has been and interactions with the DOH regarding the property.
Just get a couple things. The restoration of the monuments and stuff is being done by who?
The restoration of the highway markers that were placed there many years ago are being restored through a program that Curator Reed Smith oversees in his Department of Arts, Culture, and History of the state of West Virginia. I have, through the commemoration activities of beautifying the county and taking steps to, obviously as part of that project and initiative to do cleanup countywide and beautification, I have embarked upon efforts to have those signs refurbished. There's an existing program. We're just simply taking advantage of an existing program to have those signs redone.
Okay, and the monument as well?
And the monument was looked at very closely by the curator, and he was of the mindset that it was okay at the present time. He didn't indicate there was any need to do any major work to it. But I'm sure he is obviously, probably going to have someone take a closer look at that. If there doesn't appear to be any structural issues with the actual monument.
Basically, maybe, and I know.
A cleaning of some kind.
Right, cleaning, but sometimes people like the patina, so, but yeah, I was thinking that too.
Just as a point of background, it wasn't a read ahead previously, but the deed for the property, and I don't know whether Ms. Hoffman recalls this or not, or seeing this or not, but the deed for the property that's filed with the county clerk's office in 1924 states in part that, quote, "It is understood and agreed, however, that the grantee," which at that time was the state of West Virginia, or its assigns, "will not use the lot herein described for garage or for a gasoline filling station, and will erect a suitable fence adjoining the grantor's other property." So, I don't know how that applies in today's world. I'm not an attorney. I'm sure Mr. Delegati will have some insight on that issue, but it's clear that if the county were to embark upon a long-term lease of the property or engage that opportunity with the state, that there is some needs for ensuring that the property is recreational use and it is protected from unwanted traffic and that kind of thing. I see a real opportunity to expand this recreation site downstream. I know there's been some talk maybe about possibly providing some ADA fishing access for the community. There's really, if you really look around in the county, public fishing sites, just fishing, and it's one of the lowest cost recreation things you can do with all ages of people. There's really not a lot of actual public recreation sites. There is stream access and that kind of thing, and there's Poorhouse Farm Park, but this could be a bigger site for fishing, if nothing else. Historically, there were structures on the property. There were pavilions. Ms. Hoffman's given me some history about that and mentioned that there were 2 pavilions and 2 fireplaces. All those structures are long gone, so there would be no structural, and it is in a floodplain area. So the limitation on redevelopment is probably pretty high. You probably couldn't put a lot of, infrastructure on the site. But I think there is an opportunity to expand the site downstream and have even more access sites or fishing there in the future, maybe. It just obviously depends on what we want to do and how we feel about, this opportunity. And I think it's in our interest to try to work out some kind of local oversight or local collaboration with the state of West Virginia in some way.
Okay.
If nothing else.
All right, so are you looking for direction, or are you looking to?
I would simply recommend that the county maybe reach a consensus to engage the state of West Virginia on a possible long-term lease agreement.
This was brought to my attention months ago by Matthew, and at that time, he just wanted to know if he could look further into it, because this is and it's all part of our 250th anniversary celebration commemoration, and wanted to know if I thought the council would be interested in it, because it is a pretty important, it's small, but it's an important part, whether the council would be willing to at least entertain the possibility of some oversight
Long-term
of the
lease.
park, which I think is
Right. And
so.
this-
Just consensus from the council that you want us to continue to move forward.
And this is really only one of quite a few that could be entertained. I know we briefly talked to DNR about the property down on at Stonebridge.
Right.
You know,
The Creekside potential, the Creekside recreation potential, as you've heard about Tuscarora Creek this morning with Mr. Blair, and there's enormous Creekside potential with additional Creekside recreation potential in the entire county, not just Tuscarora Creek, but the Platts. Miss Hoffman's provided me a copy of the Platts.
We're
Platts
gonna give
here.
her opportunity to speak.
And I'm
so
yes, and that
as
means
long as
that-
we can get you shut up.
that means I need to wrap it up and let Ms. Hoffman talk. But I just wanted to emphasize there is enormous potential Creekside recreation in this community. Projects all over, they just haven't been identified. Even if they're small areas, even if they're very simple, non-structural development areas, just access. And there's nothing more peaceful and it's simple recreation, but it's mental health. We talk a lot about mental health and drug rehabilitation, drug addiction, and let me tell you, nature is good for people.
Yeah, I agree, man.
As we move forward with this project, we're gonna have the same discussion that we had with Stonebridge. As you know, Stonebridge is 7-8 acres.
Yeah, about 8 acres.
The boat ramp is that they want to put in is a relatively small portion. Their desire is to work with us to develop some walking trails, but then it comes down to maintenance and who's going to be responsible for maintenance and how we're going to do it. So, this is only an acre, but it's an acre kind of far removed from some of our other areas. So, as we get further into it, we'll have to have discussion on maintenance. Are we going to have an MOU with Parks and Rec? Are they going to take over? Are we going to provide them some additional funding, things like that? But certainly, I think it warrants some further investigation.
Oh, I do. I definitely agree with that. Matt's been working hard on this, and I think I envision that place to have some antique cars, a little car show or something like that one day. And I know if I owned one, I'd take one down there.
One thing I would just suggest, if we do pursue this and go down this path, some community outreach in Bunker Hill, some community outreach with the churches there and the community there, and kind of engage them as we've done with the Inwood Park. You and Dan, Eddie and Dan, I should say, council members, Dolye and Gogan have done with Inwood Park. similar effort there to engage them. That would be my suggestion, to engage them and see what they might want to see there, and maybe get maybe a volunteer group or two to kind of bring them in as kind of a supporting of the care and upkeep for the property, and maybe get their interest or at least solicit their ideas for the property.
Is there a possibility of grouping this with the one down the Grapevine Road that we talked about, and getting the Department of Highways to maybe bring it back up to the level it should be for us to take over?
I don't think the Department of Highways has anything on the one Grapevine Road Stone Bridge. That's the DNR, I believe.
It's a combination. The bridge, the historic bridge is under the jurisdiction of the DOH. The bridge, the Van Meter Ford Stone Bridge, which is a beautiful bridge,
Right.
but the property that you're referencing maybe, or maybe a combination, is the DNR's ownership there.
But that's what I mean. I mean, why not include this in that conversation? Because it could be, they're probably, we know that one-time funding is easier to come up with than long-term commitment. So if we could get them to come up with some one-time funding to, if there's a fence that needs put back up, if, we wanted to see a handicap fishing ramp or something like that, see if we could get them to do that part of it, and then our agreement would be to take it over and work with the Parks and Rec maybe to try to see if they could handle the maintenance, and we'd have to fund that part of it. It's kind of the same thing that you're talking about doing on the other property.
I think, I think there's a real opportunity to enhance the relationship between DNR and DOH on multiple projects in this
Yes.
regard.
So it sounds like we want you to explore further and see what we can go. Ms. Hoffman, do you have anything that you want to add? I know.
Briefly, thank you for hearing me. Known all of you for a long time. Known him since he was a pup. It's interesting because the Department of Highways had issued me a letter years ago, over 30 years ago, that I had a lifetime lease on the park when they abandoned it. And I've been paying to have it mowed ever since. And kept clean and dumpsters picked up. My man that's mowing is having some health problems right now, and the dumpsters are both full and I can't get them out. I have a dumpster on my property, which I'm talking about barrels that we have down on land. There's 1 acre there in the corner. I have 8 acres that surround it. I have 1,000 feet creek frontage built from the park going east. I have been giving fishing permits for years. You all can have one if you want one. On my property. Obviously, people can fish on the state's property without a permit. There's always a parade when they stop the stream. There's always several trucks following trucks that stock and they fish. And I know a lot of people have had a lot of enjoyment there over the years. That's about all I have to say. I have a copy of the floodplain and the plat. The county says there's 2.75 acres along the creek that joins the park. That is mine. My deed says 3 acres, so I don't know which is correct. Somewhere right around there.
Right.
I like to see people enjoy it. I don't like to see the drug trafficking that occurs there. The police have been very cooperative. I've had the state police and the sheriff's department set up in my store a lot to try to
I think
process it somewhat.
Right.
But I have plats here if you like.
Well, if we can get some traffic out there where there's more to do there and cleaned up and people start using it, I think you'll see a lot less problems with the drug activity as well.
I had a preliminary plat done years ago for an RV park along the creek. I put there's 25 spaces in the plat. I never followed through with it. But
have you ever entertained selling that parcel to add to the park to make the park larger?
well, I think that's why I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
If
Well,
you
we'll-
all take over the park and you want that extra acreage. That's,
Well,
I'm not getting any younger. I think it's time to start disposing of things.
Yeah. All right, well.
Well, you don't look any older than you did last time I saw you.
Pardon?
I said you don't look any older than the last time I
Ain't
saw you.
and here.
Yeah.
Well, it's been, I know I've known Jim for 40 years.
Yep. Actually, yeah.
So I'm not going to tell you my age, though.
All right,
I
thank you.
think everybody knows.
So, Ms. Huffman, just for the record, you are in support of what the council's considering?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm very much in support of it. I like to see things for the community.
absolutely.
And especially recreational type thing. There's nothing for the kids. It really isn't.
Yeah.
And the old men that like to go fishing.
And women.
Yeah.
Me too.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Hoffman.
Thank you for
Thank
doing
you.
it.
All right, so is it the consensus of the council to have Mr. Olmsted to continue on with his due diligence of trying to get with the state road and DNR to do a long-term lease on this little roadside park?
I think it's effort well taken.
Yeah, and I'm sure, Matt, when you had him up there, he wasn't real proud of his property on the state's behalf.
Who wasn't?
The gentleman that you had up there, the curator.
Oh, yes. I mean, he definitely recognized that there was concerns there, and he wants to make sure that the.
I stopped up there last week. Because I had conversation with Matt in the past.
I apologize for that.
Down there. I hadn't been down there for years. And, there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done to get it back nice like it used to be.
Yeah.
It's been let go. And of course, Donna's been trying to get it, have it taken care of for many years, but it needs a considerable amount of work. Nothing major, but.
Nothing that a week of the community service couldn't take care of.
No, you're exactly
I
right.
mean, it could be cleaned up very, very quickly.
Right. I've reached out to Mr. Delegati about this preliminarily. We had an informal discussion just to see, and it seemed like something we could do if we were going to go down that road as far as a long-term lease. Just one quick thing. I did talk to the curator. When I had him there, he was so excited about the opportunity that he called the Secretary of Transportation right then and there that day on the phone and had a meeting 2 days later with him or 3 days later with him to try to be in support of something being done there. So he obviously was concerned.
Well, after talking to Matt about it, my wife and I was down on that end of the county, we pulled in and checked things out. And yeah, I think it's a great thing to proceed with, Matt.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next on our agenda is Anthony Delegati, Legal Director, possible pilot agreement, sir.
Mr. President, Council, thank you very much. This is something that everyone's really excited about with the interwoven mills. There are now 3 pilot agreements in there, and I'll explain how that all is going on. So I think from monument companies, we have Chris Johnson back here to join us today, and I think some folks from the city are here as well. As at least one of you were saying, it's about $80 million estimated, potentially over $80 million to invest in the interwoven mills property. And this will take place in 3 phases. The first phase is for approximately $35 million and 170 units, as well as 5,000 square feet of commercial space at 210 Porter Avenue. Then the second phase will be another $20 million investment and another 109 units. And the third phase would be $27 million invested in another 120 units. In exchange for that, the pilot agreement that you all have negotiated says that the companies will pay $250,000 to the Quality of Life Fund. That's split 3 ways. Because of how this is structured, they have 3 separate LLCs doing each phase, so we need to have 3 pilot agreements. So that quality of life fund is split 3 ways where it's payable when each project goes into effect. Beyond that, in terms of the pilot payment, their pilot payment will be based on what the assessed value is at the beginning of construction of each phase. It goes for 10 years, and that assessment will just go up by 2% per year. So if it was assessed at $100,000, the next year it would be $102,000, regardless of what investment is going on over there in terms of what the payment is. So, I'm sure you would like to hear more from, give Chris an opportunity to speak. I don't know if Sandy is here, but if you have any other questions about the specifics of the pilot, I'm sure all of you want to speak about the project.
All right. Chris, would you like to come up and
Sure.
enlighten us a little bit more?
Certainly, thank you. Chris Johnson, principal with the Monument Company. I think we've all met. Really excited to get rolling. In fact, we have people here measuring windows today. So I mean, it's really an investment. And I'm heading back to Richmond tomorrow to look at phase 2 actual architectural drawings. So we're moving pretty quick. I believe the agreement has been memorialized the way that we discussed. I will say I've been doing this a long time, and you guys have a great attorney here. These things tend to drag out in my experience, but Mr. Delgado has been all over this, and that's very much appreciated from our standpoint. But yeah, it's a 10-year abatement, just like we talked about, $250,000 payment split for each phase. And I think there's a decent chance we'll be starting in Q1.
Okay.
If there are any questions you might have.
No, and I just want to make sure everyone out there understands it's not only the interwoven mill, but it's also confection garment.
Correct.
So it's taking up that whole, almost a square block.
Yep.
Well, 7 acres, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited, not so much for your project, but for the expansion of your project's influence on King Street and Winchester Avenue. That's what I'm really thrilled with.
That's what we've seen in a lot of other localities. Storefronts tend to get filled up when you have enough rooftops. And, it's a lot of people are going to be there.
Because the area surrounding it needs help as well as, interwoven.
Right.
All right. Anybody have any other questions for Chris?
I don't know, I'm just surprised that's twice in one day he's been excited.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Well, Chris, thank you for coming to Martinsburg and Berkeley County and having the vision that you have. It's a big vision, and we're excited.
Great, so are we.
We're excited, and anytime we can partner up with the city of Martinsburg and make something like this happen, it's a win-win for everybody. So, Schopenhauer, you have anything to add?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And if there's anything that we can do along the way to help, please contact us.
Okay.
Excited to be able to see this project get moving.
Yeah, we are too.
It's gonna be great to see it evolve into what your vision is, that's for sure.
Yep. We're excited.
But don't forget, we do get a tour of that building.
Sure. Before or after, or both. Both. Absolutely.
A lot of family, a lot of my family worked there. My dad's still living. My mom just passed a year ago almost, and they actually, my dad went to a lady co-worker and asked her to go out up there and ask my mom to go out on a date. And my mom sent her back and said, if he wants to go ask me out on a date, he needs to come ask me himself. So, and a lot of aunts and uncles and grandparents and stuff work there.
Yeah, a lot of history.
Yeah, matter of fact,
Same thing. But I actually worked at Perfection. I pushed a broom.
Is that right?
I did. Yeah, my cousin
you don't look that old.
I am. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
We still have my grandmother, maternal grandmother, worked there at Perfection and worked for Piecework. And I'm sure when we started cleaning up some of my mom's stuff, her book that she kept her on how much she was getting paid is still in the family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she had her record of what she was owed.
Wow.
On a daily basis, but.
Yeah, we tend to, like when we finish the project, we'll hire somebody to help us sort of curate our work and so forth that memorializes the history through the halls and the public areas and so
Mhm.
forth. So we'll certainly be doing that here.
Good, good.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah, it just continues to tell the story.
Right.
All right, well, we have Mayor Knowles in the audience. You want to come up and tell us what this means to the city of Martinsburg?
Shane type, he's been working on it for.
Well, we can bring Shane up too. That's your call.
Well, yeah, Shane, come on up. All I can say is wow. I mean, this is a huge deal, not only for Martinsburg, but for Berkeley County. Without the help of you all and the Economic Development Authority and everybody involved, this project wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having these conversations. We wouldn't be able to have the vision of what we're seeing with our downtown and our city of Martinsburg is going to look like over the next 5 or 10 years. A lot of things are happening as a direct result of the collaboration between both councils, and on behalf of myself, city council, city manager, I'll let Shane speak for himself. But this is the guy that front ran it since the beginning, and all I was able to do was carry the ball over the finish line. It was an honor to be able to do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
That's very kind of the mayor to say, but you guys are the ones that had to take the tough vote, and you guys in the city council, so thank you for that. Thanks to Anthony for doing the legal work. I do the part that I can, but I can't do all of it. You guys did our part, so thanks so much. Being able to get everybody together on this has really been nice. I think as I was working on some of the press for this, and everybody was so hopeful to throw in a quote, and everybody wanted to be part of this team, it's just been real nice to see that everybody's surrounded this one issue, and I think it's going to be good things. Like you said, Mr. Barnhart, I think this is going to be 3 phases at the beginning that lead to many, many phases of future improvement along King Street, along Winchester, and along those communities and housing that were really built to serve this mill, and now as it improves, they can improve around it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Shane, you've been here with the city of Martinsburg not a real long time, and you certainly bared some fruit on this one.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. We need a motion to enter into a pilot agreement. We need a motion to go into 3 pilot agreements with Monument.
Actually, it's 3 different LLCs, so you may want to do each one individually and give the president the authority to sign.
All right. Go ahead, man.
First one is 210 Porter Avenue LLC.
Okay. Need to entertain a motion to enter into a pilot agreement with 210 Porter Avenue LLC.
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries.
And give the council president the authority.
And the council president the authority to sign and take all liability.
Thank you, Mr. Delier. And do I get all the recognition too?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. And the second pilot?
That's 301 Winchester Avenue LLC.
All right. Entertain a motion to go into a pilot agreement for 301 Winchester Avenue LLC.
Second.
Motion has been made to enter into a pilot.
And give the authority to sign.
All right. We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And the third one?
Third one is 300 Porter Avenue LLC.
All right. Entertain a motion to go into a pilot agreement with 300 Porter Avenue LLC. Do we have a motion for that?
Make a motion, sir, and giving you the authority to sign the document.
Well, thank you, Mr. Gokenhour. We got a second? Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. All right. So, and I know that, Chris, you're on a very fast pace, from what I recall, and it's going to be very, very exciting.
We need your signature on this as well.
Hopefully you have better luck getting material than I do.
All right, Mr. Davis, there is no reason to go in executive session, I don't believe.
No, sir, but when you recess, I've asked Matthew to take a few photos
Yeah.
with you in the city and monuments represented.
Okay.
So we can memorialize this.
All right. All right, Mr. Barnhart, you did the honors.
I'll move to recess,
Wait,
assuming there are no items.
Wait a second, any items from the public? Anything else? Okay. Mr.
Move to
Barnhart,
recess.
we are recessed.